There we go. All right, good afternoon. I call the Committee on Housing and Homelessness Prevention to order. I will note that we have Senator Housley and Chair Port on the Zoom, and with Senator Abler, we now have a quorum. So I want to begin by thanking the advocates and everyone who testified, who presented on Tuesday. Today, our hearing will focus on public housing, an incredibly important component of the affordable housing continuum. We will hear two related bills and start with a presentation from the housing and redevelopment officials. And with that, Ms. Taphorn, I believe you'll be kicking things off. Please introduce yourself and proceed.
Thank you, Chair Bolden. My name is Melissa Taphorn. I'm the Executive Director of the Washington County Community Development Agency and the Legislative Chair of Minnesota NARO, which stands for, because we love our acronyms, stands for the National Association of Housing and Redevelopment Officials. And I have with me Kurt Kina, the Executive Director of the Red Wing HRA, and Louise Seba from the St. Paul PHA. Later, you'll hear from another one of our colleagues, Abdi Warsme, from the Minneapolis PHA. So what we'd like to do today is just talk about the role of housing authorities across the state of Minnesota, focusing on public housing, and then also what you'll hear is a bill on general obligation bonds for public housing rehabilitation. So Minnesota NARO is an industry group that has 150 housing agency members across the state of Minnesota. We focus on advocacy for housing resources, both at the federal level and at the state level, as well as policy advocacy with Minnesota Housing and DEED and some other state organizations. We do education and training for all of our members, and then our membership is all about promoting strong and vibrant and viable communities across Minnesota. So I want to talk about what a housing agency is, and we use housing agency as a generic term, but we are government entities. So like a city or a county, we are empowered with certain powers and authorities through state statute, particularly Chapter 469, which talks about housing and redevelopment authorities, or HRAs, and the powers that we have. So we can levy funds through a special benefit tax levy, we can hold property, we can rent property, and provide a variety of different services as it relates to housing needs in our communities. These can be created, HRAs can be created by cities, counties, multi-counties, or by special law. So the law that the Chapter 469 went into effect in 1974. A variety of the agencies were created prior to that date, and so they were created by special law and still exist in that realm. One of the other things that we're tasked with is removing blight and underutilized real estate. So we work with cities and counties to make sure that all of their real estate is robust and active in those communities. So we kind of put these in 4 different categories: investing, preserving, stabilizing, and vitalizing. And so we receive and administer a variety of different federal programs, and so we're going to talk about the public housing, but we also do housing choice vouchers, the old, what used to be termed Section 8 programs. We also receive CDBG, Community Development Block Grant funds, and Home Investment Partnership program funds. And some of us receive local housing trust funds, as well as housing counseling dollars from the federal government. We also administer state programs, specifically Bridges, which is a rental assistance program, and HECAT, the Homeowner Education, Counseling, and Training Program money. Across the board, each housing authority does a variety of different things based on what their local jurisdiction needs most. So we work on both rental and homeowner-occupied housing. Home improvement loans, we do a lot of financing, so similar to Minnesota Housing, we provide grants and loans to different organizations, be it developers or different service providers, to accomplish those same goals. And again, talking about the blight and redevelopment. While we're going to focus on public housing here in a minute, I do want to talk about the Housing Choice Voucher Program, because we are awaiting the Bring It Home rental assistance at the state level to be rolled out here in 2025. Right now in Minnesota, there are 32,400 housing choice vouchers actively being leased up. And talk about the impact and what we're looking at in the future for federal funding. But right now, I want you to know those 32,000, while it represents 89% of the units that HUD thinks we could lease up, we are actually spending over 100% of the budget authority that they give us. So when I talk about either flat funding or reduced funding in the federal realm, that is already actually happening, and we're kind of in shortfall of what they think we could be leasing up. So, and then with that housing choice voucher program at the federal level, you can take your voucher and move to any jurisdiction in the United States that has a housing choice voucher program. And so in Minnesota, there are over 1,000 households using their voucher from another state that have ported into Minnesota, which I think speaks to the vibrancy of our state. Right. So moving on to public housing, this serves low-income Minnesotans. And there's a map here that shows all of the public housing that exists in Minnesota. You can see that it is widely spread across the state. And the housing authorities that have public housing greatly vary. So when we say there are two large housing authorities, that would be Minneapolis and St. Paul. I think that seems kind of obvious. But the majority of our housing authorities that own and operate public housing are in that small and very small range. So my agency, well, I wouldn't consider us a very small housing authority because we have over 1,100 units. Only 49 of those are public housing. And then, so you'll see on this pie chart that the small and very small make up the vast majority of our housing agencies that own and operate public housing. And then public housing is home to over 36,000 low-income Minnesotans. 65% of those are seniors over the age of 62 or persons with disabilities. And 65% of the households have incomes over under $15,000. So this is really our most vulnerable and lowest income Minnesotans that we're serving. And a third of those are children, and many are at high risk for homelessness if public housing didn't exist. So as you've heard from us many times, the federal appropriations are not enough to meet the demand or really fund this program adequately. So the way the program works is HUD provides us, the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, provides housing authorities federal capital funds and operating funds to pay for the rent and the maintenance and the ongoing upkeep of those buildings. We've received a really generous amount of general obligation bonds from the state through the Publicly Owned Housing Program, or POP, as we like to call it. But there's still an unmet need. And this just shows that as that unmet need exists, there's more deferred maintenance because we do not have other resources that can be used to really fund those capital improvements. And then we just keep getting a larger and larger backlog of those renovations that are needed.
Senator Draheim.
Thank you. Interesting information. The chart's kind of hard for me to get specific.
Yes.
So in this 4-year funding and the unmet needs, what is that dollar amount? And maybe it's somewhere else in your.
Ms. Tapborn.
Yes. Chair Bolden and Senator Draheim, the unmet need, so total over that 5-year period is $500 million of all the needs, right? And that unmet need makes up just under $200 million.
Senator Draheim.
Thank you. And then the state funding you received during that time period is?
$100 million.
Just 100? Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. That's all. Thank you.
Ms. Tapborn, please proceed.
Thank you. All right. So in addition to the capital fund being underfunded, our operating funds are not meeting the need. What HUD has identified in Minnesota is that in formula and what we need is we're eligible for $51.4 million. However, they've been funding us at $49.4 million, which, that $1.5 million really makes a big difference. $1.5 million, or $1.5 million really does make a difference. But as that grows over time, we're not supporting our residents as much because we have to cut back on staff or, figure out how we're going to supplement that with local funds. And then this chart shows, and both these charts, these two charts are national charts, but show the underfunding of both that operating fund and the capital fund. So the capital funding numbers are the line graph and the bars are the operating fund shortfall. As you can see, the funding has been decreasing. This is from 2000 on to 2021, this chart shows. So this is not a new issue. It's been an ongoing issue. And I imagine if we had included the 1990s and 1980s, the numbers would continue to show a drop throughout those 2 decades as well. And then Senator Port had asked us to touch a little bit on the federal climate. And so I know Housing Commissioner Jennifer Ho had talked on Tuesday that there hasn't, the HUD Secretary hadn't been confirmed, just reporting back that he was confirmed yesterday. So Scott Turner is now in that position. He has not issued any notices in his 24-hour period that he's been on board. But we have received notices from our field office or HUD about last week's freeze on funding, that would not impact housing choice vouchers, the housing assistance payments. Now, I will say it sent us into a little bit of chaos because that notice didn't come until late in the day, and we were locked out of the system from morning on. But we were happy to receive that. We don't know, as they go forward with looking at the executive order compliance of all of the HUD programming, what that will mean for the money that we are receiving directly from HUD. We know that one of the issues that was targeted during the first Trump administration was the affirmatively furthering fair housing. We are tasked with complying with that in all aspects of the HUD funding that we receive. So we expect some changes to be made during this time period on that work, but we're not sure how else that will impact our funds at this point. And then we do know that there have been, at the administrative level, some changes to the repositioning options. We've talked about that in the past, what we call, or what HUD calls RAD, the Rental Assistance Demonstration Program, and other repositioning, taking public housing out of the public housing realm and putting it into the Section 8 funding platform so that, in theory, is a little more stable for us. There are changes where they have eliminated one of those options or made it harder for small agencies to streamline that process. And then there are other things that will contribute. The BABA, the Buy America, Build America, Buy America, those requirements are also placed on housing authorities and any public housing. If you try to apply that to appliances as we're buying them, the more nuanced and detailed parts of BABA are what we're trying to still figure out. I think can add costs to our work as well. We do expect some uplifts in the low-income housing tax credit program. There were some changes that were made temporarily during the first Trump administration that we're hoping to see permanently made in this administration through tax reform. And then some deregulation is expected with Republican control of both the Senate and the House there. And so that could be very viable for public housing agencies and our work in reducing some costs. So we're excited about that. And then I'm going to turn it over to Kurt, Louise, and Jill to talk about the work that their particular agencies do in focusing on public housing.
Before we do that, I'm going to recognize Senator Abler.
Well, thank you. And I'm a rookie on this committee, and my interest is in senior housing and robber baron landlords and some other things like NHOAs. That's my in my world, but I don't think my area has any public housing. But I'm just curious, and I can talk to somebody more later, but in public housing, do the residents pay part of their rent, or is it a percentage? Is it the 30% thing and they pay above that or something?
Ms. Taphorn?
Chair Bolden and Senator Abler, yes, in public housing, the residents pay 30% of their monthly income, and there's probably some adjustments in that calculation towards the rent and utilities. And so there's a utility allowance that HUD factors into that. Right now, the average tenant rent in public housing in Minnesota is $399, which really tells you how low their incomes are.
Right.
Senator Abler?
I appreciate that, and I'm just looking at your capital needs and all that. In my local senior housing project, or at least it's, what's it called, the one that in Coon Rapids that Dominion did, there was tax credits, there's some acronym, and I don't know what it is. But anyway, so the developer got a third of the money, and then they financed the rest, and they were supposed to maintain the rent increases down to the area meeting income. And so my people that would be in your category of that kind of money are paying $1,700 a month by these people who have, frankly, no moral compass whatsoever. And so maybe there's an opinion in there somewhere. But it's just interesting that in this category where we're probably chipping in similar amounts of money, that we're helping these folks and these other people are just languishing. So, so the average, but the rent in your public housing can't go more than 30% of the income. So they have Social Security and so on. And so if there, are there people that are under senior age that are in public housing, like people with disabilities, or just somebody who happens to be low income? And then I'll let you move on. I don't want to have the whole tutorial here now, but just that would be my only question.
Ms. Taphorn?
Chair Bolton and Senator Abler, yes. 65% are seniors or people with disabilities, and 35% are families, and there are quite a few children in public housing. So it really depends on the locality and the type of housing or the need at the time that public housing was built in any given jurisdiction.
Okay. I'll leave it at that. Thank you.
Mr. Kina, please proceed.
Thank you, Senator Bolden, members of the committee. My name is Kurt Kina. I'm the Executive Director of the Red Wing HRA in Red Wing, Minnesota. And as you saw earlier on the chart, we would be considered a small HRA. We have about 149 units of public housing. But like many other housing authorities, it's not the only thing we do. We operate many other programs within our jurisdiction. But specifically focusing on public housing, we operate a high-rise and then some scattered site family units in Red Wing. And we've been incredibly fortunate and grateful for funding from the state over the years to make capital improvements to that portfolio. We've received 5 different grants starting back in 2012, and with that money we've been investing in our public housing stock to make sure it remains viable in our community and that we don't lose it. You see here a picture of what Jordan Tower. We have Jordan Tower 1 and Jordan Tower 2. This is Jordan Tower 1. You can see in the background, as it was originally built in the mid to early 70s, it had some pretty funky windows going on in there. It was very, I'm sure, in vogue at the time. One of our first POP grants that we got back in 2014, we used the money to replace those windows with more energy efficient and windows that were much more easy for our residents to open. The old ones, you had to have a fair amount of upper body strength to get those open and closed, and a lot of our residents couldn't do that. We then got another POP grant, and with that we looked at the heating and cooling of that building. As you could see, we had a 1974 boiler in that building, which had served its time and was a workhorse back in the day, but certainly not energy efficient or had much useful life to it. And so we were able to utilize funding from the state, match it with some federal dollars that we had and some local levy dollars, and we replaced and upgraded our hydronic heating system in that building. Furthermore, with the most recent POP grant that we got in 2020, we again took a look at the infrastructure of that building and it was time for the electrical system to receive some care and attention. We replaced our existing, again, original 1974 emergency generator with a much better, higher capacity generator, and we replaced the building electrical panels. The panels were such that they were obsolete, and should we have a failure in them, no parts were any longer available. So as you can see, we've been spending our money hopefully wisely and addressing core mechanical systems that keep that entire building viable. We have 100 residents in that building, and if we were to lose occupancy of that building, our community doesn't have the capacity to absorb that sort of dislocation. So we're, again, very grateful and appreciative for the money that we've been able to access from the state to help supplement our other local and federal resources to keep our portfolio of properties an asset to our community.
Thank you very much. Ms. Seba, please introduce yourself and proceed.
Thank you. Good afternoon. My name is Louise Seba. I am the Executive Director of St. Paul Public Housing. I'm here with Lisa Fiedler, our Policy Director. St. Paul PHA is a large PHA with over 4,200 publicly owned housing units and over 5,200 housing choice vouchers, formerly known as Section 8. Between these two core programs, we house nearly 22,000 individuals in the city of St. Paul. That is almost 7% of St. Paul's population is relying on us for affordable, safe housing. 70% of St. Paul PHA's townhome developments and high-rises, which is about 3,800 units. 70% of those people are either elderly or disabled or both. And if we control that for our high-rises, that increases to 86% of that population. The average income in these homes is under $19,000 per year. The St. Paul PHA has received nearly $16 million in POP funding since 2012, including 2 awards from last year totaling about $8.5 million. I cannot stress this enough with my colleagues. POP funds have made critical life safety improvements at St. Paul PHA properties possible. Without them, we could not do the work that we do. St. Paul PHA residents rely on us to provide a safe place to live, and we rely on the state to help fund the projects that keep our buildings safe and our residents safe. So let's talk about some of the projects that have been funded and the difference we were able to make with your help. St. Paul PHA projects funded by POP included a multi-year staged modernization of our Dunedin Terrace family townhome development shown here. This was a 7-year project that used over $6 million of PHA's HUD funding through our capital fund program, but we couldn't have done it without the $3 million in POP funds. The project included interior and exterior renovation of the units, as well as site modernization. Let's go to the next slide. There's some interior photos as well.
Senator Draheim.
So sorry, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Chair. How many units was that then that it was a remodel?
It was a
Ms. Seba.
Thank you, Senator and Senator Draheim. It was a remodel of, I'm going to turn to my policy director. I don't think it's 151 units, but in our family development, there are 88 units.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. POP has also funded upgrades to heating and plumbing and interior systems in some of our high-rises, such as the one shown here in front high-rise. Next slide. The scope of this project included replacing the plumbing, the boilers, and the heating system, and we need these things in Minnesota for our residents. We also modernized unit interiors of, Senator Draheim, 151 units in this project. The first photos here are of the boilers, before and after replacement, and then next slide, we've got some interior photos as well, showing the kitchens before and after, new cabinetry, new flooring. These projects that you've just seen are similar in scope to what we proposed to do at our Mount Airy high-rise that was funded by the 2024 POP funds that we received. So state investment in publicly owned housing through POP funding ensures that many residents, including our St. Paul residents, some of our most vulnerable friends, family, relatives, neighbors, have a safe, decent, and affordable place to call home. As you can see from the previous slides, if you look back at them, these are joint ventures. We seek outside funding wherever we can. We've gotten outside funding through Ramsey County. We've gotten outside funding through Federal Home Loan Bank of Des Moines. We've relied on the state to help fill that gap, and we invest all the money that we receive from HUD back into our properties when we can. But the reality, and why we're sitting here today, is that we are currently facing, and have been for years, expenses increasing while our funding is not keeping up with that pace. This means that projects like these are, quite frankly, just not possible without significant investment from the state of Minnesota through vehicles like the POP program. We've done some very, very good work, but there is still a lot more to be done. So thank you for your time, and I'm going to turn it over to my colleague Jill Keppers from Duluth HRA.
Thank you very much. Ms. Keppers, please introduce yourself and proceed.
Excellent. Thank you, Chair Bolden and members of the committee. Good afternoon. My name is Jill Keppers, and I'm the Executive Director of the Housing and Redevelopment Authority of Duluth, Minnesota, and the current president of Minnesota NARO. And as you have heard from my colleagues, housing authorities in Minnesota, as local units of government, do much more than just public housing. So I'm going to spend the first couple minutes talking to you about the breadth of things that housing authorities do. And the Duluth HRA is no different. We're a medium-sized housing authority. And our housing authority consists of 4 primary departments: owned housing, rent subsidy, rehab and real estate, and development. So under owned housing, we offer a variety of subsidies to help low and moderate income households find housing stability. The Duluth HRA has been using HUD's repositioning tools to move away from public housing and into various Section 8 subsidy models. We now offer not only public housing, but also RAD, project-based vouchers or PBV, RAD, project-based rental assistance or PBRA, regular PBV, which is different than RAD PBV, workforce housing without subsidy, tax credit properties, and our newest property, Housing Infrastructure Bond Senior Housing. Our rent subsidy, or Section 8 department, manages 1,765 vouchers. We serve not only Duluth, but also Lake County and Cook County. And these vouchers include housing choice vouchers, project-based vouchers, which we work with our local developers to help place vouchers in their new projects as they're doing new construction in our area. Emergency housing vouchers, mainstream vouchers, which are non-elderly disabled specific, a variety of small programs, and soon we hope to be adding approximately 150 Bring It Home state vouchers to our portfolio. Our rehab and real estate department, they manage the city's housing trust fund projects. They also provide deferred loans to low and moderate income homeowners for exterior repairs, lead service line replacement, and fuel oil conversion. And these programs are paid for with money from Minnesota Housing Impact Funds. So thank you for all of those appropriations over the years. We also have a Healthy Home Small Repair Program and emergency repair program with HRA funds appropriated by our HRA Board of Commissioners, paid for with HRA tax levy funds. And you need emergency repairs in Duluth when your furnace goes out in the middle of the winter, or you have a sewer line backing up into your house. You need those funds right away. Also through this department, the HRA has set up a revolving construction financing program for small developers building zero net energy houses. And we have a construction training program where the HRA buys blighted homes, then pays for labor and materials to have these homes rehabilitated by students with barriers to employment. We partner with our local community action organization who provides wraparound services, including helping complete their GED, getting a driver's license, financial education, and getting a construction certificate through a local community college, all while earning a living wage. They learn a trade and are able to graduate into the workforce. Then we sell that home for affordable home ownership to a household between 80% and 115% of the area median income. We sold one house last month and are presently negotiating the sale of a second one. And these houses represent houses 6 and 7 from this program. Programs like these are also funded through the HRA's tax levy. The return on investment on this program by lifting someone out of poverty, the savings on government programs is huge. We actually had a study done by the University of Minnesota Duluth's Bureau of Business and Economic Research, and I can share it with you if you'd like. I sent the link to Melissa earlier today. And finally, we do development. Melissa, if you could go to the next slide. Between 2023 and 2025, the Duluth HRA will have added 128 units of housing to Duluth. 18 units at Fairmont Cottages, a mixed income, non-subsidized workforce rental housing development. 70 units at Skyridge Flats. We had our ribbon cutting yesterday. This development was primarily funded with housing infrastructure bonds, a senior building with 7 units set aside for veterans experiencing homelessness, and opening this summer, 40 units of family townhomes, all with project-based vouchers for families at 50% of the area median income, a 9% tax credit project. And to comment a little bit on Senator Abler's questions earlier about the housing infrastructure bond project for seniors, those are all affordable. All the rents in that building are $800 a month, inclusive of utilities. And the HRA put project-based vouchers in 35 and half of the units. And if we're successful this legislative session by making a couple of small tweaks to the Bring It Home program, where we can have a little more local control of putting vouchers in projects where we think there's local need, I'd love to project-based vouchers in the other 35 of those units too, so everyone in that building can pay 35% of their income towards rent. Next slide. So for POHP, today, we thank you all for your support of the POHP program over the years. Congress has continued to underfund the capital needs of public housing to the point of significant backlog. Without the support of the state legislature, Minnesota publicly owned housing would not be in the great shape that it is in today. The Duluth HRA thanks you, and Minnesota NARO thanks you. We have been blessed with funding over the years, as evidenced by this slide. 405 units have been preserved in Duluth over the years. And you can see Ramsey Manor's on there twice. I didn't count it twice, I only counted it once. If in this next round with that cash POHP where I can apply for some of my repositioned units, if Tri-Towers and King Manor is each awarded one project in the next round, that's another 387 units for a total of 792 units preserved in some way through this amazing program. And these are the non-sexy, behind-the-walls projects that keep these buildings running smoothly and providing a healthy quality of life to our residents. We are able to use this money that is appropriated and put it to good use. We match it with our other funds. These are boilers, windows, waste lines, fire pumps, lead and asbestos abatement, expensive projects that we can complete with your help. So we thank you very much for your past support, and we ask for your continued support now and in the future. So I can take any questions you may have, since I can't really see you. And then I'll turn it back over to Melissa.
Thank you. Members, any questions for Ms. Keppers? Yeah, I think we have a little bit more to get through, and then we'll take questions at the end, if that's okay. All right. Ms. Tapworth, did you have?
Madam Chair, just to wrap us all up, the map here is where the POP funds grants have been allocated up through 2020. So add additional 20 dots to this map for 2024's grant awards. Just There's a map that Minnesota Housing has that just has the last couple years, and this one was a little more expansive and easier to read, so I used this one. But the bullet points that accompany on this slide are through the full 2024. So the state has invested $100.5 million over those 6 or 5 years of allocations, and that has leveraged federal funds in addition to our local funds. So, I think all three of us have talked about HRA levies. We add those funds in where there's gaps as well. And then this has cured both health and safety concerns. As Jill pointed out, these are non-sexy projects. They're behind the walls. They're usually difficult to bring you and show you, here's our beautiful building, but all the work that you just paid for, we've walled up, But those are the things that are most important to be done. They've extended the life of 134 different community assets and increased the pride of over 10,000 public housing residents. In a moment, Senator Mohamed has her housing bonding bill, and so just want to provide our preemptive support towards that for $100 million of general obligation bonds. As I noted earlier, public housing agencies or housing agencies are governmental agencies, which is why we are eligible for general obligation bonds. And what I love about that is it does not compete with the private sector and the private developers and private housing providers. So this is something that we aren't grabbing from somewhere else and preventing additional supply to happen. And we would, Senator Abler said maybe I can have a tutorial later. All four of us are willing to have those conversations offline to provide any more information that you need, or feel free to reach out to any of us for additional information. And I would also like to acknowledge Shannon Guernsey behind us here, who's the Executive Director of Minnesota NARO. And then we'll stand for any questions.
Thank you very much to all of you. Senator Draheim.
Thank you, Chair Bolden, and thank you for the presentation. Obviously a very needed service you guys provide, so thank you. And I know it's hard to get funding for any project, but especially those projects that affect the lowest income or the zero income. I guess my question or line of questions have to do with, how do you budget for remodeling? If you, I think Senator Lucero and myself both have been, and I think Senator Fateh, and I think Senator Abler, have all had some property management duties at one point in our lives. And, when you own or manage property, you got to kind of plan, when are you going to do the roof? When are you going to do the windows? When are you going to do the HVAC? And then the remodel of flooring and then the kitchen stuff, blah, blah, blah. So how do you guys tackle that? And do you have money set aside for a little portion of that? Or how do you just kind of give us a feel on the properties that you guys own? How do we do it?
Who would like to tackle that?
I can let you know what we do in St. Paul. I mean, it's almost $1 billion portfolio. It's over $900 million of housing that the PHA is responsible for in the city, and it has a lot of capital needs. And Chair, Senator, it's not easy. We don't have money set aside per se, but in a large part of our portfolio, which is project-based rental assistance, we have contracts with the federal government so we can anticipate what we will be getting for our housing. And then we try and make pennies into dollars. And that's when we're searching for other outside funding to make projects happen. But we have a maintenance director who has a staff of about 100, and we are well aware of what our buildings need. And then annually, we're doing it right now, the end of our fiscal year is March 31st, we put together what we can accomplish in the next year, looking at what has been allocated to us from outside funding. And really, he puts together what has to absolutely be done, what needs to be done in the next year or two, and we work through that. And this year, we are doing what only absolutely has to be done. And I think in our projected or our proposed budget, we probably have $11 million of capital improvements that we're going to do with a lot of money, a lot of outside sources. But it's a long way to say it's not easy, and we don't have buckets of money that are earmarked, unfortunately, but we can look out to the future and budget based on what our contracts from HUD are going to pay us.
Ms. Taphorn?
Yep. Madam Chair, I would also like to add to that, public housing, we are similar to any other apartment owner where we are setting that, 5, 10, and 20-year capital improvement plan and planning for those. It's just that in a non-subsidized apartment, we could set rents that add up or, set aside money for a replacement reserve to anticipate those in those 5, 10, or whatever useful life of the windows, the roof, the siding. HUD doesn't allow that. And so that capital fund that we're receiving is supposed to fill that gap, but so that's where we're trying to figure out where those additional funds are coming from.
Senator Draheim?
Thank you. And I guess that's what I was trying to get at, because I'm a cycle kind of guy where every 15 years you have to do this, blah, blah, blah. And then my last question, then I have a statement if I could, Chair. What is the average age of the properties? I assume most of them are from the 70s, but just if anybody has a comment on that.
Ms. Taphorn?
Chair Bolden and Senator Draheim, I will have to get the exact number, but you are correct. Most of them were built in the 1970s, and in Minneapolis and St. Paul, and probably St. Paul even earlier than that, and maybe in Duluth, they're older. Some of the buildings, there hasn't been new public housing issued for decades, other than when there was a lawsuit filed in the 1990s about concentration of poverty. There's some additional funds that were used to disperse public housing into the suburbs in the Twin Cities. So some of my public housing stock has been units that were bought, existing units that were bought that was during 2000, 2001. So.
Senator Draheim?
Okay, thank you. Thank you. And that's kind of what I expected, but I just wanted to confirm that. And then my last comment, it has to do with the last administration in the White House. And, I've been involved in housing for decades and follow it quite close on the local level and on the federal level and try to understand it. And it's very complicated. Needs all across the board. But I am just surprised that funding hasn't kept up with all the emails I get about all the money coming out of DC for housing. And I always check to see where Minnesota's at, but I don't really pay enough attention to what the uses are. But there was a lot of money spent, like we have spent here in Minnesota, on housing. So it's just interesting to me to kind of see where we're at, and you wonder, if we're doing better than most states, how do other states handle it? So just food for thought. Thanks.
Thank you. I think, just to reference, in Minnesota, while we have made, in the last several years, critical investments and much-needed investments, I thank you all for being here and sharing. The needs are great, and while there may be, and I can't speak for what's happening in DC, but over the last decade, certainly this housing has been underfunded, and so making up that ground is going to take a long time as well, and is work that we should be doing. So. I'm going to go to Senator Abler and then Senator Putnam.
Well, thank you, Madam Chair. And it's nice to have a few minutes and not so much pressure on time. I'm not going to take a long time, but it's just nice to be free to ask a few questions. I've got three short ones. This deregulation you all meant about, I just see an opportunity here that this committee could actually be a positive part of that. But my inquiry is, so when you do your remodeling and your deferred maintenance stuff, is there stuff that you just would never really do, but they're making you do it? And if you didn't have to, if you could do what you really thought made sense, And my thinking on that is that there's, I think, an opportunity to help the money go further as a person who mostly waits till things break when we don't have any big pots of gold to do our maintenance. I do a lot of my own work. But can you comment, is that, and if there are some things that just don't make sense? I think bipartisan letter to those folks, like, could you think about making us do this so we can put more money into new units or fixing up the bad stuff? So that's any part of that you want to react to would be great.
Ms. Taphorn.
Chair Bolton and Senator Abler, the one thing that comes to mind that housing authorities and maybe federal contractees in general comes to mind about deregulation is the Davis-Bacon Act. And Davis-Bacon Act is similar to prevailing wage requirements that initially, when it was passed in the 1920s or 30s, it was meant to keep contracting and procurement local, and so that you couldn't have someone come in from a different area and underbid all of the local guys or companies. That was I shouldn't say guys and gals. And
Construction.
however, the threshold for this is any contract over $2,000. So as it was written, was $2,000. It has not been increased since that time that it was written. And that can add, for a $5,000 project that, is replacing, appliances, doors, something small that our maintenance staff should be able to contract for, requires all of this procurement that adds a lot of costs to it.
Senator Abler.
Well, thank you. Construction persons. Anyway, so that's interesting, and I actually support prevailing wage in general, but I think a $2,000 thing is probably a little archaic. And there may be somewhere to go on that when you do prevailing wage, legislation and just blow it up, that's not quite so friendly. But maybe thoughtful stuff here where the money will go further and there'll be actually bigger, better projects might just be a thought. So, I just was wondering about, there's a 5-pound limit for windows. What if it's 6? A practical, I just would never replace those. At least you wouldn't. Anyway, that's just, if you want to think about that. And I think for all the fear people have about the Washington changes, and I have no idea what's going on. They don't talk to me either. But it might be an opportunity for some flexibility that we've long been waiting for, at least if there's a little ray of hope there to cheer you up. Anyway, the second question, the $800 rent in that project, does that require a subsidy from somebody to maintain that, or is that funded by the $800?
Ms. Taphorn. Or Ms. Keppers.
Thank you, Chair Boulder and Senator Abler. So the $800 a month rent is what was set in the housing infrastructure bonds when we did the application, and then it will change based on the Minnesota housing tables year to year. So it'll go up little by little with these housing tables that are set. But with the vouchers that are in place for half of those units, people will still only pay 30% of their income towards the rent, and they include utilities. So for half of the people, they may never see any increase other than if their Social Security goes up, then that little increment, that 30% of their income might go up a little bit. And for the rest, it'll just follow the tables that get published by Minnesota Housing that are on their website every year. So there should never be any huge increases in that regard. And I'd really like to be able to put bring it home vouchers in the rest of those units if I can get a little extra flexibility in legislation this year.
Madam Chair, perhaps thank you for that, and that's back to my other senior question, but in my question really was, if there's no external sense of funding to backfill the expenses of that building, can they make their own expenses, taxes and whatever heat and whatever debt service payments with that $800, or is there some other outside source of money that's required to subsidize that beyond the $800?
Ms. Keppers.
Thank you, Chair Boulder and Senator Abler. Nope, this project should cash flow, and part of the reason it'll cash flow is because it is almost entirely a housing infrastructure bond project with no tax credits. So the only mortgage on this project is a $500,000 first mortgage that the Duluth HRA has on the project. So it has a 15-year first mortgage from the Duluth HRA that I think we're charging about a 2% interest rate on. And that's the only debt on this whole project. So having those housing infrastructure bonds, and a good amount of them that don't have to be paired with tax credits is key to making a lot of these projects cash flow, so we can keep rents low for the life of the project. So for 30 years, they're gonna have these low rents. I was also able to put some solar on this project, so that will help with the long-term utility costs on this project, help pay for the common area utilities for years to come.
Madam
Senator
Chair.
Abler, and then I'm just going to give a friendly reminder, we have 2 bills yet to get to, so, and a couple more members to speak, so Senator Abler.
They're easy ones. Just one more question, and I just could not be happier with your answer to that question, that actually the project is self-sustaining at $800 compared to my bill and landlords in my town. And so on a related thing to that, when we do these, clearly you've made it all work somehow, but for my ongoing questions is when we did a project in the city of Ramsey for 47 units that are off-gassing fumes and they're tiny and it's all vinyl, linoleum, the community room is dinky. Across the street they built 2-bedroom granite countertop ones for, it was $222,000 compared to $157,000. And so for the future work of this committee, I think we just need to look and see what fingers are in the middle there and why we're willing to pay $222,000 for lousy units when somebody across the street could build them for that. And I just don't, when I was way young in this place, I met somebody at a party and they go like, you want to be on the housing projects with Minnesota HFA and all that. And they backed up the truck. And they were bragging about how much money they made. I just remember that from 20 years ago. And I don't think that given the interest of the testifiers in this committee and the needs that we should continue with that kind of behavior toward people who don't add real value. I'll leave it at that. But I think we just need to look at that. And I think we'll find ourselves getting more money out of less, or more value. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Senator Putnam.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This may be a little bit late, and I know it's uninformed because I'm brand new to housing, but I did want to hop in on our conversation about our relationship, our interactions with the federal government. When Senator Graham was talking about the number of resources that were added to housing in the past 4 years, I think that's an incredibly important point, but the resources and their effectiveness need to be articulated to need. So more resources were coming to us for the federal government because the need was so extreme. And what I think makes a lot of us anxious is that that new precipitous incline in need is not going anywhere, but we don't know what's coming next when it comes with our relationship with the federal government. So I think when we think about the effectiveness of the resources that we put into housing, we always have to put need first if we're thinking about how effective it's going to be. So that was just sort of a general point I wanted to make. And similar to Senator Abler's point, I love your optimism, dude. It is beautiful. But I think we also need to continue to think that although this is a moment to kind of reimagine a lot of the stuff that we're doing, there are people who are trying to live today in the world that we've got today. So it's not really a fantastic opportunity to start over, but it might be an opportunity for new ideas. So I appreciate your point.
Thank you. Senator Lucero.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So to the, there was a question, I don't remember who answered it, in regards of most of the buildings were built in the 1970s, in that vintage. So one of the things that Senator Port and I have been conversing about is trying to find somebody or somebodies to speak about the last 150 years and the different forces that have impacted or influenced trends in housing. And so for those like myself, and I suspect several on this committee who weren't alive in the 70s, could you speak to why, well, I guess I'll ask the question in 2 parts. First is, the 1970s vintage that is public housing now, were they originally built in the 70s as public housing, or were they built as multifamily housing and then subsequently acquired? And then, part 2 of the question is, what forces existed? So I know when the baby boomers came back, or I'm sorry, when World War II generation came back, They, from the war, they produced the baby boomers. And I guess it would be the 70s, if I just do the math, roughly, that they'd be looking for housing or, you know, in that adult stage. And maybe that was in the 60s and 70s, the cause for a massive construction of multifamily that was then subsequently purchased by the HRAs. So the question is, can you just speak a little bit to the forces that existed at the time that were the catalyst for the construction, as we're having conversations today in housing in relation to, you don't need to speak to the modern forces, but what forces existed then that influenced those construction projects?
Ms. Daphne?
Chair Bolton and Senator Lucero, the Public Housing Act of 1937, and I'm not going to pretend to be a public housing historian, but I do have a degree in housing from the University of Minnesota. So that was, you know, just a few years ago, because I was born before the 70s. That came as part of the, you know, federal New Deal, right? Of, you know, so there was, you know, recovering from that Great Depression. And then the housing that's built, or public housing in Minnesota in the 1970s was when the suburbs were developing, or, you know, in that realm. And that's why in the core cities, or, you know, tier 1 cities where the public housing is older, because they were available to access those funds at that time. And then as the suburbs grew is when there was still funding available for public housing, and that was when that was developed. And during the 1980s and maybe early 90s is when production really stopped. Congressional appropriations for public housing, for the housing choice vouchers, really dried up. And I can't remember, is the 1990s, sometime during the Clinton administration, is when they put a halt to no more public housing can be built. This is the maximum number of public housing units that can exist in the country. So when we talk about repositioning, and there's also a thing called fair cloth authority, because the senator or the representative that introduced this legislation, his last name was Faircloth. So we can reposition and then build new public housing under our Faircloth authority, but we can't do any more than that. So hope that helps a little bit. But
Ms. Seba?
Thank you, Chair Bolton. Senator Lucero. Just a little facts about St. Paul PHA and our almost $1 billion worth of property. They're older than the 70s. They're mostly 50s and 1960s, and they were built as public housing. And then we own 418 scattered site homes that also have significant capital needs, and those were purchased after that. But as Melissa stated, new development for public housing really ceased in the 90s, and we are at our fair cloth authority, as she explained, so we can't get any more subsidies in the city of St. Paul. We have repositioned 3,855 of our homes, and we have 418 still in low-income public housing right now, but our portfolio is full.
Senator Lucero?
Thank you, Madam Chair, and I appreciate that. And I find this topic just to be absolutely fascinating, and it's very complex. And there's multiple layers to this, and I know you're trying to move on, so I'll be very quick. But I'm just highlighting how decisions made decades ago, the Great Depression, it sounds like, obviously was the catalyst for some federal programs, which then there was a greater building in the 60s and 70s because of the population boom, and then so you have construction that occurs, but then depreciation is happening this entire time. Maintenance is required, and there may or may not be funds for it, but the buildings are still accumulating their depreciation or deferred maintenance. And then you have the pressures of trying to maintain those buildings with programs that may or may not exist anymore, with interest rates. And I know, I think one of the answers, it might have been the Duluth project that was a 2% interest rate, kind of going back to Senator Abler's question. Things can pencil out at 2% interest rate, but the exact same project at an 8% interest rate, it doesn't cash flow. Right. And so you have that force, and then you have the housing crunch that we're experiencing now and trying to make these decisions on new construction in this new environment of interest rates and inflation. And it's just, again, it's it's a fascinating topic, how these trends and the gives and takes occur in the housing industry nationwide, let alone Minnesota, and then you have the suburban growth. And again, it's a fascinating topic. So the adrenaline rush in me is kicking in. So.
I'm sure we could talk about this for several more hours, but we will not today. But really want to thank the four of you for being here and sharing your perspectives. Everyone deserves a safe, secure, stable place to call home. And the folks that, you all are serving who are living in public housing are some of them, as was evidenced by the demographics that you shared with us, are some of the most vulnerable in our communities. Elderly folks with disabilities, folks with very low incomes. So this is really, really important. So thank you. Noting as we are talking about the housing crisis and the importance of building more units, which is absolutely true, while we are doing that, it is important to maintain these really important units that we have as well. And so with that, so thank you very much, and we will segue into Senator Mohamed's related bill.
Thank you, Senators.
So before us will be Senate File 915. Our intention with this bill ultimately will be to pass it to capital investment. Senator Mohamed, when you are ready, you may begin.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Members, this is Senate File 915. This bill invests $100 million to rehabilitate and preserve public housing across Minnesota, ensuring that thousands of families, seniors, and individuals with disability have safe, stable, and dignified place to call home. Public housing is not just a roof over people's heads. It's a foundation for health, education, and economic stability. Decades of underfunding and disrepair have left many public housing units in dangerous and unlivable conditions, and we've heard that all throughout afternoon. This bill is about saving what we have and ensuring that it remains livable for future generations. Housing is infrastructure. We would never let our roads and bridges crumble, and we shouldn't let our homes for our most vulnerable communities deteriorate as well. This is not just about buildings, it's about people. When families have stable housing, kids do better in school, seniors age in place, and communities are stronger. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Questions, members? Senator Abler. Oh.
I just told you to be quick, so.
Fair enough.
But I appreciate your attention to my questions, and I understand everything you're pushing us along on, but I think we've had a pretty good discussion about the topic, and that's why it can be so quick. So I think it's a great bill, Madam Chair. I'd love to vote to move it on. So,
Senator Drahan? Sorry, I thought I saw your hand. All right. I won't push anyone. Senator Mohamed, I really appreciate your focus that this is not a bill just about housing and buildings, and though it is infrastructure, but it is a bill about people. So true, and I appreciate that focus. With that, would you like to make a motion that Senate File 915 passes and is recommended to pass and re-referred to the Committee on Capital Investment?
Yes, Madam Chair.
All right. All those in favor of that motion say aye. Aye. All those opposed say nay. The motion prevails. Your bill is on its way. Next, we will move to Senate File 546. I would invite Mr. Warsame to come to the table. We're going to pause for just a moment. The bill author is on his way. So we'll pause for just a moment here. Senator Drahan.
I don't know if Senator Port's on, or if you know what we're going to do next week while we're waiting for the author of the bill. Maybe an update?
Excellent question. One moment. Thank you, Senator Drahan, for the question. So the plan for next week, and this should post later today, topics to include HIBs and the challenge program. Good afternoon, Senator Fateh. We are happy to have you here. You may proceed with your bill.
Thank you so much, Madam Chair and members. I was going to ask also if the presentation can be placed on the screen, please.
Yes. Could we have the presentation be on the screen? There we go.
Good.
Thank you.
This isn't for my part, it's for their part, but thank
Very
you.
good. And apologies, Senator Fateh. I believe you have an author's amendment. Would you like to move that first?
Yeah, I'd like to move the A1, please.
So I will move.
Go ahead. I'll move it. He's my seatmate, so.
Senator Abler moves the A1. All those in favor of the A1, say aye. Aye. All those opposed, say nay. Motion carries, and the bill is now in the shape that you desire. Please proceed.
Thank you, Madam Chair and members of the committee. Currently, MPHA maintains a $37 million capital backlog for its portfolio of nearly 800 family homes following decades of disinvestment from the federal government. More than 3,300 people call these units home, and they're spread across nearly every neighborhood in Minneapolis. For example, I have 188 of these homes in my district, but the continued operability of these homes is in jeopardy. In recent years, MPHA has worked with the legislature, Minnesota Housing, and the city of Minneapolis to preserve these homes. And I'm here today with a bill that will help MPHA finish the job. To be clear, this capital backlog for good and to clear this capital backlog for good and preserve these 800 units for generations to come. I believe investing in affordable housing should be a bipartisan priority, and continuing this partnership with MPHA is a perfect example of how we can follow through on that commitment. I want to thank the committee for the time today, and I'll turn it over to the CEO of MPHA, Mr. Abdul Rasami, who can share more about the agency's challenges and this specific project.
Mr. Rasami, welcome to the committee. Please introduce yourself and proceed.
All right, thank you, Chair Bolton and members of the committee. My name is Abdi Warsami. I'm the Executive Director and CEO of the Minneapolis Public Housing Authority. And today you got a wonderful background information around public housing from my colleagues, so I appreciate that. I want to kind of build on a little bit. Our first slide kind of talks about MPHA. We are the largest housing authority in the state of Minnesota. We are classed as a large housing authority. We serve 26,000 individuals on any given day are provided through our programs. And we have three main programs. I want to kind of give you an overview. Our first program is low-income public housing. That's traditional public housing or Section 9 public housing. Mainly, these are folks on fixed income, seniors, folks with disabilities, and majority of our public housing is in our high-rises. You know, Minneapolis has a concentration around 42 high-rises. If you're driving around Minneapolis, if you see an old, funny-looking, ugly building, that's one of ours, and that's usually where our public housing residents live. The second project that we have is our deeply affordable family housing, and this is the focus of the bill that Senator Fateh wants to introduce today, and I want to focus on that. But we also have Section 8 and housing choice vouchers, and we serve altogether, our public housing is around 7,000 residents, our deeply family housing is 3,300 residents, and our housing choice voucher, we serve 18,000 residents. One of the unique features of our housing choice vouchers is the relationship that we have with developers in our city through our project-based vouchers. For example, last year, we awarded 189 vouchers to developers in our region. We also had 202 project-based vouchers come online. So 202 deeply affordable units came online because of the work that we do. So this is an important feature that MPHA does. We also, through our vouchers, take care of children through our Stable Home, Stable Schools program, and also our veterans. We provided 347 Veteran Affairs vouchers, and that actually ended homelessness in the county of Hennepin, and we're very proud of that as well. So we do a lot of different projects, but I want to focus on the deeply affordable family housing. In 2020, we actually converted our 800 homes portfolio from the Section 9 platform to Section 8. And the reason why we did that conversion is because we're actually getting 2.5 times more subsidy, serving the same population, the same staff, by just moving towards the Section 8 program. We also, in 2023, completed and added 84 new units. So in our family housing portfolio, not only are we preserving, but we're actually adding new units. And in the last couple of years, not only did we keep 3,100 individuals, but we've actually added 200 new individuals in our housing portfolio. So we're doing a great job there. I want to talk a little bit about demographics. I'm not going to spend too much time on this. Our low-income public housing usually are seniors. 57% are 62 plus. Folks on fixed income, folks with disabilities, and the units are usually one bedroom and studio. Our family housing, different demographics. Young families, young children. Majority are children with families. And our housing choice vouchers also gears towards young families and children. Now let's talk a little bit about the capital backlog. And I think my colleagues previously mentioned, we all have aging stock. MPHA has 6,000 plus units. They were built in the 60s and early 70s. For example, our family housing ranges from 10 years to 100 years. We mentioned earlier that the federal government has disinvested in public housing. And I think the senator mentioned, historically, there was a lot of promises made to public housing residents. And we've been getting 10 cents for every dollar that we need for capital. So this has created a capital backlog that we estimate to be $260 million. Now that's $260 million just to keep what we have, not to add any bells and whistles or add any new units. And this is the biggest issue and the biggest challenge for MPHA, and we want to address it. Now, it's not all doom and gloom. We know we have a 260 capital backlog. We know we serve a large, vulnerable population. But over the last couple of years, we've made inroads with our relationship with our local government. We've deployed $5 million last year in our family housing, and we've turned around 64 family housing units. We've also installed fire suppression across all our 42 high-rises. That's thousands of units that never had fire suppression systems now have it. And we did that project a year in advance and on budget. We also announced the largest public housing redevelopment project. This is a $65 million project in Springs Manor, which is in northeast Minneapolis. And the aim of the project is to rehabilitate 221 units, so to completely rehab 221 units, and also add 15 new, deeply affordable and accessible units. And we do this through partnerships. In 2023, MPHA secured more than $11 million in one-time and ongoing state and local assistance. In 2024, we secured $7.65 million, and this supplements the $20 million capital that we get annually from HUD. We've also used different tools. I mentioned the conversion from Section 9 public housing to Section 8 to increase the subsidies that we get. We also used low-income housing tax credits. We've used Section 18 tools, and we've used all the tools that are available to us in order to make sure that we keep housing the families and taking folks off the waiting list. Now let's talk a little bit about deployment. We are gratified and thank our state for the support that they've given us, especially this committee with the leadership of Senator Port and Senator Bolden. And we've used that money, and we want to highlight in this slide how we've deployed that money and where every single dollar goes in order for us to build trust. So we got $5 million from the legislator a couple of years ago. That grant agreement has been executed in May. We are going to start work in the spring, and that money is going to go towards 50 to 60 homes, all exterior work. These are roofs, sidings, windows. We've also got $1.3 million through the SHORT program, and we've utilized that money to turn 41 deep turns, or 41 homes got deep turns, and this is kitchens, bathrooms, electrical work, plumbing, mechanical repairs. Now let's talk a little bit about the family housing and why we're here today, and we thank Senator Fateh for this proposal. We own 800 scattered sites units. These serve 3,300 residents. Majority of them are children. Like I mentioned earlier, in 2020, we converted this entire portfolio to the Section 8 platform, and this has increased the subsidies from 2.5 times what we used to get. with the subsidies that we got, with the money that we got from the state and from our city, we're actually putting more than $11 million this year into this portfolio. So fixing homes, turning units online, serving the same population, but also adding new folks from our waiting list. And why did we choose this portfolio? Because this portfolio works. This portfolio helps families, get better jobs, find their feet. And actually, families don't stay here forever. We did studies that shows, on average, families stay for 6 years. And we've also seen that since 2020, nearly 14% of the families that graduated from this program went on to become homeowners. So this is a portfolio that works. And I want to leave you with one other figure here from this slide, which is, back in October, we opened the waiting list for this portfolio for 5 days. And we got 3,300 applicants. So not only does it work, this is sought after, and is one of the most sought after programs that we have. Now, let's talk a little bit about where we are. Where we are is that we have a 37 million capital backlog on this portfolio. So the entire 800 units, we have around 37 million. And our team, and our planning and development team, actually knows where every single need is. And the needs are in electrical equipment, mechanical, exterior work, interiors, bathrooms, kitchens. We know exactly where the money is needed. And so again, let's build on where we are right now. If you look at this slide, we have made some inroads in chipping away the capital backlog. The first time we came in front of you a couple of years ago, this capital backlog was $45 million. Because of the support that you've given us and the support that the city's given us, now we've chipped away at that, and it's now 37 million. So we are making progress, but not fast enough. We are right now, majority of our portfolio, 60% plus, is in the poor category. And where we want to be is in the fair category. So let's go to where we want to be. If we were to get this support, if we were to get this 35 million POP cash investment, and we took care of the capital backlog, we will not come back to you here talking about this portfolio ever again. Because, and I think one of the senators was mentioning, how do you plan for the future? Because we're getting much more subsidy, 2.5 times more on the Section 8 platform, we are actually building reserves for this portfolio. So if we could take care of the capital backlog that built over the years when this was on the Section 9 platform, then we know we can put this entire portfolio on a sustainable footing, and we will not have to come back here in front of you to ask for more money. So this is one-time cash infusion into 800 homes, serving 3,300 individuals. And why are we asking for cash? Because MMB has interpreted that because we did the conversion, that these units are no longer public, and therefore we cannot get GO bonds. And that's why we're asking for the cash. And I think this is the end of if you look at some of the pictures, this is actually the work that we did with the money that we received from our local government support. So actual families are living in better conditions today, and we're serving more families, and we can put this entire portfolio on a sustainable footing, which is what we want. So thank you, and I stand for questions.
Thank you. Senator Fateh, anything to add before we move to discussion?
Please.
All right. Members, questions or comments? Senator Drahan.
Thank you. Thank you for the presentation. I know there's a huge need, and I saw Minneapolis public housing, and I'm going like, well, what about the rest of the state? So just for the fun of it, as I was listening to the presentation, I went on the census to compare our districts. And Senator, as you know, our districts are about the exact opposite as you can get. And I'm just going to share a couple of stats just for comparison. First one was the poverty line. And for your district, which is part of Minneapolis, it's 20.6. And for mine, it's 7.9. Quite a difference. I didn't look at income or anything like that, but, and then one thing I think we miss in the conversation is marital status, which I know is a protected class, and we're not supposed to talk about it, but I'm going to talk about it anyway. People in my district, 58% are married, but only 32% of yours are married. And the dual income versus single income is where I'm going with that. And then I looked at the ownership rate, and everybody that's been in this committee knows I'm a broken record that we should be on the pathway to home ownership, because that's how we get out of poverty and build wealth. So in my district, it's 79%, according to the census report I pulled up. And in your district, it's only 40%. So about half of my district. And then I looked at the number of units out there and what were multifamily versus what were single family. And I think this is part of the problem in your district, by no fault of your own or anybody that lives in your district. But 86% of the people in my district live in a single family home. And only 36% of the people in your district live in a single family home. And I know land's an issue, but hard to find a home if there isn't one there. Is kind of where I'm going with this big, long list of stats. So I no doubt in my mind that there is a need for help for housing in your district. And I am not endorsing this bill or fighting the bill. I just thought it would be interesting for us to kind of look back at the differences between a very plain Jane rural district like mine, nothing special about mine, great people, of course, but and then your district. And it just makes me wonder, rhetorically, if there is a correlation, with marital status, having that two-income household, and then home ownership, and poverty rate, of course, in the end. So just something to think about and chew on. Thanks for bringing the bill forward. Like I said, I know there's a need, and I just wanted to share that with the committee. Thank you.
Senator Fateh, response?
Yeah, so thank you so much for your, thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Senator Jahan, for your comments. This isn't the District 62 Housing Authority. This is for Minneapolis. Minneapolis, I believe, has 6 Senate districts. So I'm one of the Minneapolis delegation members. So this is a bill for the entire city of Minneapolis. But I do appreciate the statistics. But as Minneapolis being the largest public housing authority with a $37 million backlog, and knowing that we have a crisis in homelessness and unsheltered homelessness and things like that going on, I think this is something that we need to support. Mr. Warsami gave some good data around how long people are staying in these units. On average of 6 years, folks are going on to become homeowners. And these are the kind of things that we need to invest in so that kids can focus on being in school. We know how much of a factor that plays in having stable place to stay at on their outcomes, such as graduation rates and how they perform in schools. We know how much it impacts people in terms of just having stability in home and around work and things like that. So if we want to improve the quality of life of people, then I think this is the right approach to take. With that being said, I'll be happy to sign on to as a co-author for a bill if you'd like to provide for your housing authority as well. I'll be the first to be the number 2 on that.
Chair, we don't have housing authorities in outstate, really. I mean, most communities don't. There are a couple, but we don't have the luxury of that. So thank you.
Let's create a bill to make one. How about that? But I appreciate you, Senator Jahan. Thank you.
Other questions or comments, members? Senator Mohamed.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I have a question for you, Chair Warsami. Is that your title? My question for you is, per se, we do find a way to fund this $39 million, which is one-time funding, and it's the backlog. How many people, okay, my question is, how many people are on the waiting list for housing currently?
Mr. Warsami.
We have various waiting lists for this particular program is 4,300.
4,300.
Senator Mohamed.
Okay, and is that because every single sort of housing in your portfolio is currently filled and you have no more left?
Mr. Warsami.
Chair Bolton, Senator Mohamed. We actually, in December, our occupancy rate was 99% for the entire portfolio. So nearly every single unit is filled.
Senator Mohamed. Very good. Others? I have a question. Last week, it was reported that HUD's main funding portal, and Mr. Morsami, this question is for you, it was reported that HUD's main funding portal was reported to be down due to the Trump administration's proposed funding freeze. I'm wondering how, if at all, did that affect MPHA? And more broadly speaking, thinking about the current instability or uncertainty of kind of what's happening at the federal level and around federal funding, how are you all thinking about that? How are you thinking about how that might affect you?
Chair Bolton, members of the committee, it affected us. It was pure chaos. We didn't know what to do. We had commitments. For example, we have a relationship with thousands of landlords that receive subsidies from us through our Section 8 program. And when this memo came out, it was a couple of days before we had to pay those landlords. So it created a lot of confusion and uncertainty. But MPHA is what's called a moving to work agency. We have certain flexibilities in terms of moving some of our money around. And we've also built reserves over time because we've seen this type of short-term, government shutdowns and other challenges. So we can weather the storm for a short while, but I think everybody across the board in our region and all the 3,000 plus housing authorities across the country are quite nervous with regards to the new administration's direction or indirection.
Thank you. All right, Senator Lucero.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So some of the headlines that I've been hearing and seeing over the last several weeks and months have to do with the massive amount, hundreds of millions of dollars of fraud that's occurring in Minnesota. And the fraud that's occurring is due directly to Governor Walz's failed leadership. And I believe it's over $600 million of confirmed fraud. And I can't help but think, how far could $600 million have gone if Governor Walz had done his job? And this bill, I believe it's $35 million. The amount of fraud that's occurring in this state could have funded this bill and many other bills multiple times over. And if Governor Walz would properly put controls in place and actually have an interest in the taxpayer dollar more efficiently, then a lot could be done to help people across the state, such as this project, rather than it going out to criminals. So I'm very thankful for what's happening at the national level. President Trump pausing dollars to ensure that the fraud that is confirmed to be occurring already in Minnesota doesn't continue, and that this pause helps, again, to make sure that the taxpayer dollar is spent wisely, efficiently, and goes as far as possible. So thank you, Madam Chair.
Senator Mohamed.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I, very often don't pay attention to what's happening at the federal level. But I think what I will say is public housing is one of the most important things in terms of assets for our state, and especially taking care of our most vulnerable communities. And what we're hearing from the administration at the federal level is that they will completely gut the federal program. And there are already over 160 a waiting list for a voucher program. And we're talking about housing in this community. We often talk about housing and the fact that we have a huge amount of community that is unhoused, that's living outside. And we should never, ever be grateful for the fact that we are going to have an administration that's going to gut federal programming that helps the most vulnerable communities. That's why we're here. And so I really appreciate Senator Lucero for his comments, but I have to say I fundamentally disagree, and I think it's really unfortunate that that's sort of the narrative that we're taking in this committee.
Senator Fateh, any final words on your bill?
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair and members. Thank you for giving us the opportunity and giving MPHA the opportunity to present, and look forward to having your support.
Thank you very much. I appreciate you bringing this bill. I think this has been a fruitful conversation today. I think that, what I am taking away is that this is, critical investment. And really, again, when we're thinking about the people who this serves and who are living in these units, it is our most vulnerable in our communities. And so as we think about, funding for that, it is unacceptable for me to think about, that we should be holding that hostage, or anyone should be holding that hostage, in terms of what is needed. And certainly the needs are great, and so a worthy investment, and I hope we can continue to focus on the people who are, counting on us and others, as we move forward. So with that, this bill will be laid over for possible inclusion in an omnibus bill. Seeing no further business ahead of us, this committee is adjourned. Oh, apologies, Senator Pa.
Thank you, Chair Bolden. I wanted to speak, but not necessarily to this particular item. But I did want to just comment that this has been a comment that's been going around almost in almost every single committee that I'm on, which is addressing fraud. And I want to thank Senator Lucero for bringing it up. But what I don't appreciate is how it is being politicalized, that somehow fraud only happens under one type of administration. Fraud, as we know, has happened for a very long time under many programs, through many administrations. And therefore, I think that we all can come together to address it in general. Because it does happen, but that's our job, is to be the people that can come up with solutions for it. But I don't like it being politicized and making it like it's one party or one person's fault. And so I'm looking forward to more discussions about that in effective ways. And so I'm hoping that we can do that.
Thank you. And with that, seeing no further business before us, this committee is adjourned.
Good job.